Are you more interested in Jon right now than you were 18 days ago when the announcement of the retirement was made? Are you more interested in Jon versus Tom? Now, you do need to be able to answer that specific question, because if Jon were to return, he returns against Tom. All right. I mean, that's a big deal. It's a big deal. Let's say Tom was to drop the belt to Surreal. The return of Jon to go in and fight Surreal, I mean, I'm just sharing for like these things aren't going to happen. For Jon to come back, there's some moving parts that are outside of his control. And there's a real irony here. Like, while we have the appearance that Jon doesn't want to fight Tom. By the way, make sure you hear what I'm saying. I'm not saying Jon's scared of Tom. I'm not part of that. Jon doesn't want to fight Tom. Has a different set of reasons, but let's accept that. If Jon wants to come back, he better be Tom's biggest fan. He had better be cheering for Tom. If Almeida, if Volkov, if Derek Lewis gets the jump on Tom, they're not booking Jon versus, I mean, do you see where things change greatly? And I'll answer my own question. Yeah. For me, yeah, I'm more interested in Jon. I feel that the work that Jon has done in the media lately is some of Jon's finest work. I heard the expression, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Jon puts out this picture. There's two things that will always work, and I'll share those with you. But in this picture, Jon has one of the two, which is two things that will always work. Two things that the audience finds compelling for reasons that I don't know. When you see an athlete with a pet, an animal of any kind, Mike Tyson and his birds, did a photo shoot with Andrei Arlovsky and these pit bulls, and they called him the pit bull. It was this whole thing. Or the photo that I'm discussing, which is Jon Jones in a Superfly suit. He's got this bottom lighting on a dark night. He's got a dog with him. And it was a great photo. And he puts out, feels good to be the hunter instead of the hunted. And that line is okay. It's not bad. But that line caught on all over the place. I mean, everybody covered that, and I maintain they didn't cover it because the line was so strong. They covered it because of the photo attached. It was just a great photo. Then, give you an example. Daniel Cormier. And nobody has the right to speak on Jon Jones more than Daniel. And there's nobody that you guys would rather hear speak about Jon Jones than Daniel. There's nobody you'd rather hear speak about Anderson Silva than me. But there's nobody you'd rather hear speak about Jon than Daniel. And Daniel has the right to be very critical. Daniel fought the guy for a title, was knocked out, and the guy failed a drug test. Like, Daniel has the right to have and harbor a resentment. So Daniel comes out and Daniel says, look, I look at it as quitting. And Daniel does firmly believe, and this is a model that has come from our sport, but really carries over to pro wrestling. If you're the champion, you don't leave town without doing the job. Right? If you're going on vacation, or you're coming off TV for a while, or you're going into retirement, you put the other guy over. And it's very true in our sport. You don't jump when there's a challenge out there. You got to take it. And you got to do everything in your ability to leave the division stronger than when you found it. Now, there's some guys, I'll use George St. Pierre as an example. He beat everybody, and he beat him again. He's out, right? If he wants to look, I gave you all chances, and I gave you all chances for 15 years. Fair play. But Daniel was critiqued. I'm just sharing where Daniel's coming from. So Daniel called it quitting. Said, hey, you finish the job if you didn't clear out the division. You finish the job if you got a fight book that everybody wants to see, and you pull out. But he used the word quitting. So now Jon uses that same word, and Jon puts out a post. He says, you got to know when to quit. He says, sometimes quitting is the best thing you can ever do. You got to be able to evolve. You got to be able to move on. It's like, okay, there's no part of me that believes that Jon wrote that and likely didn't even log in and post that, but it was excellent. It was a trump. It was a trump card. He trumped Daniel's statement. So I just share that with you because while he has done a very good job, he does find himself in an interesting spot. And we over here at Bad Guy Inc. have been questioning this since he returned to the pool 5 days ago and we got that news, which is, okay, returning to the pool, will the UFC book him? Do they want to move on from Jon Jones? Is there room in the organization for Jon Jones, the contender? We've asked these questions. Great. Dana goes on, I believe it was called Full Send, and he was talking about the White House card. He said, man, we're going to bring the baddest card, most badass card ever that we've ever done. Dana said it's a year away. Landscape changes. But if we were to do it today, the main event would be Jon Jones versus Tom Aspinall. And I felt like we had a reveal in that. I felt like we had the answer to the questions that we've been asking. Is the UFC interested in working with Jon just because Jon appears to be interested in working with the UFC? And you would hear that and you would think, yeah, yes. But I do think that you have to understand it a step further, which is I don't believe that Jon can just get booked. I believe it does have to be against Tom. And I think if the landscape changes and it goes against Tom and goes to one of the other guys in the top 10, you can pull up their names, and I think that the interest changes. It changes by you, and therefore changes by the company. Could have that wrong. Only time will tell. We have very limited information. But based on the statement that Dana made, it sounded very positive to the idea of being willing to not only book, but main event, to not only main event, but to reward Jon. Final analysis, it appears business as usual.